Welcome, everyone. I'm Shah, and this is the Data Entrepreneurs Podcast. This is where I interview entrepreneurs in the data and AI space, which is why I'm super excited because today I'm talking to Santiago. And I first met Santiago. Well, I first met him not face to face, but over YouTube, watching his YouTube videos. I can't remember when that was. It's probably around that time you posted that auto encoder video that we were just talking about. But I had the chance to take his ML school, his machine learning course, a couple months back. And, even though I've been doing machine learning for like 5 years, taking that course was super refreshing. It kind of, brushed up on things that were a bit shaky for me, but also like I learned new things and, that was super valuable. So I've really learned a lot from Santiago, and I'm sure everyone else in the audience has as well. So just thanks for being here, Santiago. Excited to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, so there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to cover. You've been doing this stuff for a while. So I just want to go all the way back to the beginning and kind of when you first started your career and you were getting into machine learning. So what did that look like for you? Like, how did you get started in machine learning?
So I think it was by accident, and it was because of a class that I took. Uh, just if I go back, when I went to my undergrad, I really did not like the artificial intelligence. I mean, we're talking back in the day, early 2000. I really did not like any of that. It was voodoo and a lot of math. I did not like it. So I did not pay a ton of attention. In 2000 something, by the end of 2000, the 2000, before 2010, 2011, when I went to college for my master's, I went to get the computer science major for my master's, but I had to take a machine learning class, and there were two teachers, two professors. They completely blew my mind and changed my perspective on what could be done using machine learning. Yeah. And I think that was what got me into this. So as a funny side story, I was about to, I already had planned out the classes that I needed to graduate with my master's. I ended up staying for one more semester so I could actually complete a machine learning major. So I took computer vision and reinforcement learning, a bunch of other subjects just to get the major. But that was what changed it for me.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you did your undergrad in like computer science or just like traditional software stuff, and then you came back to get your master's in computer science, but then kind of fell in love with machine learning.
And then I fell in love with machine learning.
So what was that like one thing or two things that those professors like unlocked for you that made you realize that this was something you were interested in?
So I think a big factor was that I was working full time when I went back to school. So I'm trying to solve problems working for clients. I got a lot of exposure to different projects at my company. And taking my machine learning class, I immediately saw solutions and different ways of breaking down problems and solving them that I could just go the next morning and apply and have those conversations with my client. I felt like cheating because I was getting smart every night without trying, if that makes sense. So all of a sudden, I remember like this particular case. This company, they were producing a ton of reports. Like they had security guards, and guards captured a ton of information in reports, and they wanted to make sure that those reports did not contain any personal information. Okay, so they're working on these and they're trying to solve these. And I take a class and I learn about parsing text and trying to identify personal information in text in class, completely by it's just a coincidence. And then I go back the next day and I'm like, how about if we use, right? Like I always knew about that. And then people looked at me and
Right.
like, holy crap, this guy knows what he's talking about. So it's that feeling,
Yeah.
right, of learning and being able to apply what you learn, what got me hooked. That I think that's what happened.
And so it sounds like you were working full time at this time, or were you freelancing?
No, I was working full time. I'm
Okay.
product freelancing, so I always done freelancing a little bit on the side,
Oh, I
not
see.
weekends. Yeah. So
Well, okay,
yeah.
so what did that look like in the early days? Like, how'd you, so you're doing it on the side, but like, when did you make that transition to, okay,
Yeah.
this isn't like a side hustle anymore?
So actually, uh, while I was in Cuba before even coming to the United States, I started working at a company and freelancing at the same time
Okay.
back then. When I came to the States, everything I did was freelancing. So I was
Mm.
freelancing for about a year, 2 years. But then I wanted to sort of like get a taste of corporate America. Like,
Mm.
what does this look like? Right? I've never worked for a company before. Everything I knew was just freelancing, working for myself. So I accepted a position at a company, but I had a team that was working with me doing the freelancing work,
Oh,
and that was
nice.
another opportunity for me to sort of like do this work for the company, but at the same time send some of that work to my team that they were also doing that work, right? Uh, and it was on and off from this freelancing gig, helping other companies, etc., for many years. I think it was during COVID when I picked up freelancing again a little bit
Oh, I
more
see.
seriously,
Okay.
just because we had a ton of free time or downtime, I should say, and things were really scary. Like
Mhm.
nobody knew what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So at that point, I tried to do a little bit more freelancing as well. But I've been on and off
Yeah,
for
yeah,
all
yeah.
of these years. Yeah.
No, that's really interesting. So I didn't know that you had this team, like while you were working full time, they would help you with the freelance stuff, but also help
Yeah.
you in your like full time work as well. What did that
Yeah.
team look like? Like how many people? What was that? What were the
So it
skills?
fluctuated over the years.
Okay.
So at some point, I had 10, 12 people that
Wow.
were helping. Most of the time, they were like a core team of two, 3 people.
Okay.
By the way, this was a company that got created in Ecuador. People that were my friends, high school friends, college friends that went to Ecuador and they created this company there and
Okay.
hired people. So I sent them work and they would do that
Oh, nice.
work and that type of relationship. Yeah, good friends. We're still good friends.
Nice.
We don't work together anymore, but still good friends.
So I know I saw a post on LinkedIn a while back how you're saying you're talking about your Upwork track record. So you had a lot
Yeah.
of success on Upwork. At
Mhm.
the time, like when you made that post, it was like you made 600,000 in revenue just on
Yeah.
Upwork. So what was your kind of process for like gaining clients? Like, what was your secret to success? Because six hundred
Yeah.
thousand dollars, like people see that number and like that's like mind blowing. Like they've never
Yeah.
even dreamed about making that much money. So like, what that look like for
Uh,
you?
so I guess everyone brings something different to the table. My superpower, or what I self-recognize as a superpower here, was closing jobs. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how can I get a client pay attention to my application in the middle of another 200 applications?
Yeah.
Okay. And the more experience you get with the platform, the more reviews you get, the easier it gets, obviously, because you got reputation.
Hmm.
When it's hard is at the beginning because nobody knows you, you don't have any reputation. So you have to overcompensate with a very strong application. So here is the secret. And it's obviously it's not a cheat code, but it's still a shortcut. I'm gonna call it shortcut here,
Okay.
quote unquote. So I was taking every application that I was sending. I was applying to these jobs, right? And my application was day one on the job. So I basically asked myself, what would it look like if they say yes to me? What would I be doing day one?
Mm.
And I would do that. And I would send that as part of my
Oh,
application.
nice.
Okay. And it turns out that 99% of people who apply to jobs send their name and their resumes and made the whole application about themselves.
Mm.
And I was the only dumb person that was actually spending time and making the application about the project that the person wanted to solve. So let's say you, for example, you want to build a website, a landing page for yada, 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 right? I would take all of that information and I would do 1 day work, right? What would that look like for 1 day work? Well, I'm going to create like a sketch. I'm not a website builder, just you get the idea. I will sketch what that website would look like. I will ask questions about what content would go here and here. What are the hero images? I will do 1 day worth of work.
Yeah.
And I will include all of that as part of my application. And I will tell the client, listen, this is what I did. Here are the questions that I have. These are the areas that you will need to tell me what to do. When can we have a call to just figure this out?
Yeah.
The client will immediately get my application and it would be, heads and shoulders above anyone else. So just for kind of metrics here, I closed 24% of the jobs that I applied to.
Wow.
For reference, people who are good in Upwork have sub 1% of closing. So sub 1%, right? So that's for every 100 jobs they apply, they get 1 interview. I closed 24%.
Wow.
What was the high? In 1 day to 1 job. That's it.
Oh, I see.
Some people apply to 50 jobs because they can only say apply. That's it. It takes no time to apply. I had to put a lot of work. So I focused on picking up my battles very carefully, selecting the best jobs, but I was willing to do this, right? So it was always good jobs. And then I did that. And that was sort of like the secret here. So
yeah, that's really good. So it's focusing on a high quality application that'll stand out.
Very high quality. Yeah.
Even though it's, taking you more time to do it, you're like 10xing your close rate.
Increases my chances of getting that interview.
Yeah. Okay, so during COVID, you really ramped up freelance. Was that mainly on Upwork, or were you exploring other
It was
channels?
mainly on Upwork. So anything that I've done outside of Upwork has been by chance because maybe I met someone who wanted me to help, but I didn't have any strategy for outside Upwork. So Upwork was the main sort of like provider of jobs. And Upwork is incredible. I really like the platform because it's literally unlimited work that it's there. It's out there, right? Just have to go and take it, but it's out there.
Yeah. I think Upwork is a great like entry point for entrepreneurship because at first I feel like the mindset that most people have is like the only way to make money is to get a job. But then Upwork, it's similar. Like you're getting jobs, but it's kind of like your mind gets expanded. At least for me, it was expanded to like the ubiquity of opportunities in the world. Like there are so many opportunities in the world. Like there's like no shortage of opportunities to make money. While when I know people are talking about like the hard job market these days, and like it seems like there's so little, like so few opportunities. But I feel like Upwork kind of opened my mind, by doing it.
It does, yeah. I think it's like you said. I think it's a great introduction to entrepreneurship. Like if you want to go by yourself, Upwork is a great first step for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. So you did the Upwork for a bit. Well, now you don't really need Upwork to get leads if you wanted it, because you have huge following on X, YouTube, LinkedIn. When I tallied it up, it was like 500,000 people follow you, that's a mind-boggling number. So like, what do you feel like? Okay, so I guess, how did you get started in content creation?
Yeah, it was during COVID as well.
Yeah, okay. So COVID was a pivotal year for you.
It was a pivotal year, and I sometimes tell to my wife that I feel really, really bad because I know that COVID brought a lot of sadness to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I tried to see the silver lining for our family, and it was just gave me or pushed me to find different things, right, that I didn't have before. So I started creating content during COVID, started from scratch, from zero, and it just grew from there. But it was just, realizing at the beginning it was just because I could. So I didn't have any strategy. I did not know any content creators. What I really wanted to do was YouTube from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
I really wanted to do YouTube, but I was too scared to do YouTube for a bunch of reasons. So I said, you know what? Like writing is easier. And it is in certain ways. So I'm going to do writing. We'll see. Started rowing from there until it sort of like became a serious thing. But at the beginning, it was just, I'm just going to share stuff. Yeah, that's how it started.
And was that supporting your freelance work at all, or was completely independent?
It was, yeah, the content creation was completely independent. Again, no master plan. I just wanted to share stuff, meet people. If there was one strategy, I think the strategy was, maybe if I lose my job, this is going to help me find another job, because I'm going to have sort of like a public resume of content that speaks about what I've done and what I can do. I think if I remembering back right now, trying to remember back, I think that was the master plan, having that live resume out there. It turned into something else, but that was not the intention. The intention was just to share my knowledge.
Right. Yeah. So it was like this online kind of living portfolio, just like a way to kind of show off your work and your expertise.
Right.
So it's been a while since you started. So I guess 2024, it's been about 4 years. Like, how do you approach content creation now?
It's a job. Now it's my job. It's my main job. That's what I do. So it definitely has, I mean, one things or certain things remain consistent, like consistency is one of the things that I've kept consistent all of these years. I keep using the same word. So I post every single day. It doesn't matter what's happening in the world, I'm going to post. What has changed is obviously I measure my words a little bit more right now, because when you go up and you fall, the higher you are, the more it's going to hurt, right, when you fall. So I have to be a little bit more careful. I spend more time crafting my content. I'm more maybe organized. I take it like a job right now. Like I'm a very political person. I like politics. And every single day I type and erase stuff that I really want to share with the world, because it's not good for me. It's my job. Right. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I really want to say this, right? And I just take a deep breath and say no, because it's not gonna help me, right? You don't bring politics into your office, right? That's me being political on Twitter. It will be me bringing politics into the office. So that's what has changed. Before I didn't care. I would have shared whatever. Yeah.
No, that's an important mindset. And I think a lot of people, before they start content creation or they're early on, they don't realize, they don't think of it as a job, even though maybe their long-term goal is to be a full-time content creator. So it's kind of a good mindset to have, to remember that, kind of use that analogy. Like, would I say this in the office versus not? But of course you have a bit more leeway, because some of your tweets, they're pretty hot takes, which is
they are, but I try for sure. I mean, it's you try to. One thing that I've learned with time is at the beginning I was way more scripted.
Okay.
And when you are scripted, you are trading off authenticity for your content, right? Like you are not being authentic. And people smell that. People realize that. People don't like that. So something that I've tried to do is, how can I be more authentic, more like a human being?
Right.
And some of it is just saying stuff, right? Harmless stuff, but you just say your hot takes, right? And a lot of people will disagree with you, and a lot of people will agree with you, as long as you keep it civil, and professional. Everyone is going to be happy. But people like that. People like the vulnerability and the hey, I'm not just trying to sell you something. I'm trying to just give you an opinion. So
Yeah.
that's why some of those hot takes come in. But again, it's like the politics, like specific
Right.
politics,
Right.
those are not
I
gonna
see.
help me at all, because
Mhm.
especially in today's world where it's 50-50. So
Yeah.
whatever I say, I'm gonna piss off 50% of my audience.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. So why would I do that? Plus, I make money because companies want to advertise with me.
Yeah.
Companies don't want that.
Right.
A bunch of companies are gonna say, no, I'm not gonna pay you money just because you're being political.
Right.
So yeah, I try to keep that up.
So you were mentioning that content creation is your main source of income, but you're doing other things as well. So you've got the course, and then other things that come up, maybe some
Yeah,
contract work or whatever else. How do you balance everything? Because I imagine like any one of these things could be a full-time job.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I manage all of that, besides trying to be organized. So I
Okay.
teach my class, which takes me time for, obviously I have to prepare the class. I'm always trying to improve it. And is just teaching the class itself takes time.
Yeah.
The good thing of not having a lot of spare time is that I have to be ruthless about the things that I say no to.
Yeah.
So that's one sort of like a byproduct, a good byproduct of not having a lot of time to spare.
Hmm.
So that means that any changes that I want to make for my class, they have to be really on point. They have to bring the quality really up. If not, it doesn't. I'm not gonna make it.
Right.
For content creation, it's the same thing, right? Like, what should I be spending, or where should I be spending my time today to bring my content creation game up, so I can, I can do more with less.
Hmm.
Uh, I think the most interesting part is in the third bucket that you mentioned, which is the everything else, right?
Hmm.
Everything else includes a little bit of freelancing sometimes, helping companies, usually consulting. That's what
Yeah.
I do most than anything else. It also includes like going to conferences. I get a
Mm.
lot of invitation to going to conferences and whatnot. We were talking off camera before, but I was telling you that sort of like the way I think about all of those categories or all of those things that I could be doing is, if I cannot repurpose that thing many, 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 many times, I'm gonna
Yeah.
say no to them. So now let's say you propose, hey, can you help me with this project? I'm gonna pay you handsomely. I'm gonna pay you $250 an hour. If that's it, if I'm
Right.
gonna be trading my time for money, it wouldn't make sense for me to work with
Right.
you. But maybe you invite me to work on a project that I can speak of later. I can
Yep.
create content around that project, or I can just generate a couple YouTube videos. So now I'm not only getting paid for my time, but I'm reusing that
Yeah.
over and over and over again. Those are the opportunities that I say yes to. And
Hmm.
that's how I try to fill 10% of my time.
Yeah, that's a really good rule of thumb. And that's something I tried to do once with a client. I had a consulting
Mhm.
client, and they wanted me to lower my rate, and I said yes if I can make content about it, because then it makes it more worth it to me.
Yeah.
And then even though the person I was talking to liked the idea, the CEO vetoed it. Is that so? I guess for you, if someone says, "Oh no, you can't share it," it's an
So
easy
yeah,
no.
the way it usually goes is that freelancing, I will never take the work, just because I know nobody's gonna let me speak about that type of stuff. So I would
Right.
say no to freelancing. Uh, but let me give you an example. This company wants me to train their team, internal team in the company, on how to use LLMs and whatnot, right? So I make a deal with them where I own the content,
Yep.
obviously, like my presentation, that's mine. They're gonna pay me to go and teach them. So I charge them money to show up and teach all of their students, but then I get that presentation,
Hmm.
the same content that I prepare for those students, for those people, and I go to an event and I use the same presentation in an event. They're paying me for my time.
Yeah.
I record a YouTube video with the same presentation. It's the
Mhm.
most popular video in my channel right now.
Oh wow.
And I keep writing content about that. So
Mhm.
multiple uh, multiple benefits from
Right.
the same time.
Yeah.
So if I cannot find a way to do that,
Mhm.
I'm usually going to say no right now because it's not going to be worth it.
Yeah. I feel like that's a great approach, and you sort of have to do that as a solopreneur because you're kind of on your own. I made a video about this a long time ago. I call it a multi kill. It's like two birds with one
Multi-kill.
stone.
Yeah.
Um, two birds with one stone, but like generalized to everything.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I like this heuristic of like, okay, if I can't repurpose it, if I can't get a multi kill out of this opportunity, I just have to say no to it.
Right. I'm going
Um,
to say no to it. Yeah.
and it's funny you mentioned the trainings because I've been kind of wandering around the trying to figure out what to sell as an entrepreneur. Do I sell my services? Do I do content? Do I do courses? Do I do whatever? But I feel like doing like private workshops, like that's what I'm pursuing now. And I have a good
Yeah.
feeling about it because you can own the IP because
Yeah.
they're paying you to create a training, um, and then you can create content about it and do all these kinds of things.
Yeah. So it's just think about this. This is probably a different way of looking at it, but it's very
Mm,
helpful for me.
mhm,
It's just thinking about the cost of saying yes versus the cost of saying no. Okay.
mm,
So when you say yes to something, you immediately remove any possibility of using that time for anything else.
yeah.
So when I say yes, you committed to that hour of doing something. That's it. It's done. That
Mhm,
hour is gone. When you say no to that hour, you still keep the opportunity open to use that hour for many, many other things. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Like, it's very hard for me to say yes because I know that if I don't say yes, I still have the choice of saying yes tomorrow or the day
Right.
after to another opportunity. So it's way more costly to saying yes than to saying no to
Right.
something. So that's the way I usually think about it. That makes the no my default answer,
Yeah.
unless I can prove that it's gonna be really helpful for me and I should say yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I feel like a lot of that's a valuable frame for a lot of entrepreneurs out there, especially first getting started. So let's open it up for Q&A in about 2 minutes. So if you guys have questions, start spamming the chat right now and we'll have Santiago answer the questions. So before we transition to Q&A, one last question from me. What advice would you give technical folks, like specifically technical folks, maybe coming from a machine learning background or AI background, or even like just programming, and they want to get into entrepreneurship? Like, what advice would you give to that person?
My advice would be whatever you're gonna do as an uh, if you want to go solo, if you want to create your own company, whatever you want to do, find a way to disconnect your time from the money that you're gonna receive. There are
Mm,
multiple ways to do that, but as long as you keep selling your time for money, you're just limiting your possibilities. So creating a course is one example of how you can break free for that time for money. Creating an audience is an example where I don't get paid for how much time I spend creating content. I get paid for my reach.
yeah,
So, which is a very, very different. I can spend 1 minute today creating content and get paid the same if I spend 1 hour because
right.
it's my reach what matters. So when you get to that point, if you can make that transition, either by creating a class, a course, or a business that pays you somehow, when you make that transition, it's like a whole new floor in the building of your life is going to open up for you.
Hmm.
It's like imagine you're living in your house and all of a sudden there is a huge room in your house that you did not discover before and it's right there. And you
Yeah,
just open that door and you're like, holy crap, we have here another 1,000 feet just for us, right?
right,
Uh, so try to think about what you can do today to transition to that state where
right.
you are not selling your time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you think every entrepreneur should be a content creator?
I don't think so. And I don't think even if everyone tries it, like, so number one, the reason content creation is profitable it's because not everyone is a content creator. If everyone becomes a content creator, then nobody will pay content creators because it's. So I know everyone cannot do it. Everyone can try for sure. Would I recommend people to try? Absolutely yes, but it's hard. There's sort of like a natural filter there, an organic filter that people who are not committed or who don't enjoy the process are just not gonna make it.
Yeah.
Content creation is, in many ways, it's modern slavery. I don't want to minimize slavery in any way, but you get the idea. Is you are a slave to an algorithm that you do not control,
right?
And it's you cannot sleep one day. You quit one day, you come back, and the algorithm hates you, and you have to earn the trust again. So it's this rat wheel that never stops. That's one of the problems with content creation. Look at YouTubers, and you'll see that most YouTubers spend 5-7 years and then they quit.
Yeah.
Because that's it. They cannot do it anymore.
Right.
And that's something with content creation. So it's hard.
Right.
It takes a lot of effort. Should you try? For sure. And if you can make it, it's amazing. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. All right, so let's open it up for Q&A. So we got one question already came in from Zach Moore. Where were you, let me see, where were you setting as your location for Upwork? Oh, I see. So like, what was your location when you were applying to jobs on Upwork?
So when I started, I was in Cuba. So I applied from Cuba. It was a very different world back then. That was before 2009, probably 2007, 2008. But when I came to the United States, I changed my location to United States, and it was way easier to get jobs, by the way. When you are in the United States, it's a little bit easier. Yeah.
So make the trip out to the US if you're trying to apply to jobs on Upwork.
Yeah. I mean, I got plenty of jobs working from Cuba, but I had to compete with it's a very different game that you have to play when you are not when you are not in the United States.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Well, people in the audience, feel free to keep dropping questions in the chat. I have one kind of pre-prepared from an undisclosed source. It's a bit of a long one, so I'll try to summarize it. But basically, if you wanted to build an MVP, and we were talking about SaaS products earlier and how maybe it didn't work out. So I guess, how would you build a MVP for a SaaS product that you're trying to scale it kind of long term? Like, how would you approach that, or like how would you kind of think about that?
So let me see how I answer this, because I think it's an oxymoron to talk about MVPs and scalability, because those are literally the two sides of the spectrum. So for a SaaS product or for any endeavor that you want to go after, the way I approach MVPs is very particular, which is I sell it first and I only build it if it makes sense after I sold it. And granted, I can do this because I have an audience. So I have a marketing channel that I have access to. But basically, all of the classes that I've taught, the courses that I've sold, what I do is I post about them. I say, this is what I'm building, and here is a pre-order page. I don't ask people, would you buy it? Because a bunch of people are going to say yes. No, I want people to vote with their wallets. So I opened a pre-order form, and I say, I'm going to charge you $50. And people who pay will tell me literally with their money whether it's worth making the class or not. Right? I would not spend any time creating a class, a course, a video, whatever it is, if people are not interested in it. So that is my MVP. My MVP will be a landing page with a way to capture credit card information. That would be my MVP. And after that, I will start building from there. If enough people buy, I will start building it, build the first iteration, get feedback, build the second iteration, just like that. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like I was going in this direction, but I was asking people, would you buy this, instead of like having them pay with like kind of vote with their wallets. So I
try that. I try that. It's way more people told me yes, I would buy that than the actual people who paid for it.
Yeah.
So I decided, no, I'm just going to ask for money.
Hmm.
Right. So if you really want this, you're going to pay.
Yep.
The other day, I think it was 3 days ago, Danny Postma, he's popular on Twitter. He's one of the indie hackers on Twitter.
Mm.
And he did exactly this. He wants to create an SEO class, an SEO course, and he opened it for pre-order. He sold over 24 hours, $100,000 of courses.
Wow.
Now he has to go and deliver. He has to go and create the course. But now he knows, like literally his course is successful even before he created it because people gave him money. Now, if he decides not to do it, he can always refund people and that's it, right? But that's the way I would go about it. I would not do anything other than that.
Yeah, I definitely have to take a page out of your book and do that. I'm curious, how many iterations, how many landing pages did you have to make until you finally settled on the course?
On my class, well, so the current, I've sold a bunch of courses, by the way, before, before this class. Yeah. So the first one I created was a Twitter one, how to create content on Twitter. Everyone has to do that course at one point in time. And I use Gumroad, which the good news is that the landing page is built in.
Nice.
You just have to enter information and that's it. They charge you. It literally takes you 1-2 hours to have something out there and to start charging people. Nice. So I did that one. I did another one about helping people get into machine learning. I did like 2 more, which were experiments about. So when I got to 60,000 followers on Twitter, I created like a small community where I was going to share how to go from 60,000 to 100,000. So I took people for a ride for that time. It took like 3-4 months. And people paid me to be part of that community. And it was the same idea, right? Hey, this is what I'm going to be doing. If you want to get my updates, every week I gave people, this is what I'm planning to do and how I'm going to organize myself, blah, blah, blah. And people pay me to just take that ride with me. Nice. So I've done this a bunch of times. For this class, the current course that I'm teaching, I had the idea because a company paid me to help their employees, right? To teach them this. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to sell this as a class.
Nice.
So I did that. They paid me for creating the material. But the material was, I'm going to say from 0 to 10, it was a 1, right? It was 10% of what I really wanted to teach. Because they only pay me for a certain amount of hours. I wanted to teach for much more. So I asked myself, are more people interested in this? So let me do what I already do, which is I'm going to put it online on Gumroad. I'm going to charge, I think I started charging like $80 to join the class. And I said, for every 100 people who join, I'm going to increase the price.
Okay.
That's it. That was my strategy. You're pre-ordering here. The first day I posted it, I got 4 people. So that's it. 4 people joined. And me and my wife, not the first day, but I posted it and it's been like 3-4 days and I've only sold like 4.
Okay.
And I told my wife, I guess people don't care about this. And she told me, why don't you try again? Try to post about it again. And I said, okay, one more time, but if nobody else wants it, I'm not going to create this whole class for 4 people. I'm just going to return the money and that's it. Reposted it and I sold $50,000. Wow. On the second time that I reposted it.
Nice.
And at that time I had to create a class. So at that time I'm like, holy crap, now I have to create a class. That's how it started. The class back then looks nothing like what I'm teaching today. So I put the version 1 out there. And just because this is a cohort class, so I gave people the opportunity, it's a lifetime access. So I recognized that what people bought back then was not going to have the same quality as what people will get today. So I gave people who bought lifetime access to every iteration that I will ever create. It's like free updates forever, right? So I've got people like today, I'm teaching the class today. I had someone from cohort 1 all the way back in 2023. I taught that cohort 1 and somebody is in my class today who bought back then. So that's the idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. We got some more questions coming in on the chat. Let's see. Jude asked, what was the most challenging thing for you as an entrepreneur and how did you overcome it?
I guess it's time, and yeah, it's time and balancing that with my family. People think that because they work for themselves, they're gonna have all of this free time, and it's actually the opposite. When you have a company, you work 9 to 5, you go home, and that's it. I spent my vacation this year talking to some friends in Spain, and I told them, you guys have something that I really, really envy, which is you can completely unplug, right?
Yeah.
You are on vacation and you don't care, right? That's it. Your vacation is your vacation. When you work for yourself, that concept does not exist anymore because you are the business. If you get an email and you don't answer in 14 days, things are not going to be okay. There's nobody that's going to back you up. So that is the most challenging thing, learning how to deal with that, how to compartmentalize family time, personal time, work time. That's I still struggle with that today. Yeah.
Let's see. We'll just rapid fire through these questions. So Amin asked, is it possible for someone with more than 15 years of IT infra with no programming background to switch to ML? What is your advice to starting an ML journey?
The answer is yes. Everyone has the ability to do it. My recommendation would be start with programming. So don't try to jump into ML without programming. Right. Programming is a big component of effective machine learning. So my recommendation is if you don't have experience in programming, start there. And who knows, maybe you realize that that's all you need to be happy. A lot of people go into machine learning and they start learning Python and they realize, actually, I don't need any machine learning. This Python thing is good enough for me. And there is a bunch of stuff that I can do with this. I don't need to keep going, right? Like Python is not a stepping stone. It's a destination in itself, right? So maybe you realize that, yeah.
Especially for IT infra people, like automating your life with Python can take you 80-90% there, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Mahmoud asked, thank you guys. Please share advice for people just starting on Upwork. So maybe kind of adding on to what you were talking about earlier.
It sounds like you took my Upwork course, so you got most of the advice there. I don't know what else to tell you that I haven't said on that Upwork class. But, be willing to put the work that other people are not putting. That's important one. Number two, do not miss on. A lot of people like to dunk on opportunities in Upwork that sound bad. Like you get these jobs that they ask you about the moon and they tell you they're going to pay $1 for it. And what people do, 99% of people will screenshot that and paste it on Twitter and start laughing about that job. What I did was applying to the job and having a conversation with a real human, and 9 out of 10 times it turned out that they had no idea how much money that would cost. And by having a conversation with me, I got the job and I got paid. Everyone else is laughing. I'm just doing the job. So do not ignore. Find those as great opportunities. There's a bunch of tricks in the videos, but those are two that come to mind right now.
I love it. It's better to get paid than laugh, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, another question from Jude. As a DevOps engineer trying to get ML skills as well without in-depth programming knowledge, what would you advise?
Go into the in-depth programming knowledge. Just try to practice Python. Take a Python class. Learn how to program. From there on out, you can start adding bit by bit machine learning knowledge on top of it.
Nice. All right, so we're right up on time. I do have one last question. So where's this all going? So you got the course, you got the content, you got the side things. Where's this going what are your long-term goals?
Not having to work anymore. It's just I'm taking life 1 month at a time. And I know some people who they're building companies and you ask them, what is this going? And they're going to tell you how they're going to conquer the world and change. And I'm just a simple person. I don't have any of that. Okay. So where this is going, I like wine. I like food a lot. And I like my family. So this is going there. That's what I have. How can I do more of the stuff that I like? This is going. From the work point of view is how can I survive another year doing what I like? What I'm doing right now is exactly what I like to do. So I want to do more of the same. So what are the things that I need to do today to ensure that next year I'm still going to be doing what I'm doing today? That's my master plan, 1 month at a time. I don't want to conquer anything. I want to still be back for the economy. I'm not trying to build, an enterprise. Or that is very simple.
Yeah. Maybe more family dinners. That's the long-term goal.
More family dinners would be great for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, Santiago, thank you so much for chatting today. Thank you, everyone in the audience, for sticking around. This will be uploaded immediately to YouTube. And then you can check out our upcoming events on our events calendar on Luma. And if you registered for this event, you'll get a link to that in your email. So once again, thank you, Santiago. And thanks for everyone.
Sure.
We'll see you
Thanks,
in the next
everyone.
one. Bye.
Bye-bye.